Good evening, everybody. It is Thursday. I had to think about it today. Um, yeah, I do believe today's Thursday. It's been a crazy day. Woke up this morning and was awake enough to answer my door when the physical therapist came by. She was actually working with Jerry for basically finishing off. So basically, what it is because of the insurance, she was only allowed so many visits, and the physical therapist wanted to come by to make sure that Jerry knew what she was doing and that she was okay, and they didn't have to try to reapply for visitations, which can sometimes be a pain in the royal rumpus. And then, of course, Jerry had 2 doctor's appointments today. She had one with her primary doctor, just the 3-month, follow up and well check, and discuss plans for the future. And then we had a visit with the oncologist to see what's going on and plan for, future visits. Possibly going back on her chemotherapy and doing a different type of immunotherapy, not the same one that they were doing before that caused the back rashes, but a different form of immunotherapy medication to, keep the body strong enough to fight off whatever it needs to fight off while she's doing the chemo, because chemotherapy can break down your body's natural defenses to ailments. But the doctors were all happy with her, what's going on. The oncologist talked about how the bone tumors in the nuclear bone scan was looking good, even though there was 1 or 2, I don't know, I think he said regrowth. In other words, it's not the same tumor, it's a different tumor on a different part. At least that's what I took from it. Hopefully Jerry does a video to better explain it than I can, because I've always had problems explaining it. What do we got here? Possible rain showers at 11 or at 8 o'clock. I knew the clouds were getting a little heavy out there and it looked like it could rain. Even though earlier today the weather report said, you're just going to be partly cloudy and no chances of rain. Now it says, chance of rain. I love the Missouri weather. It can change at a moment's notice and make the weather people go, ooh, we didn't see that coming. Sorry, folks. That's just me. Today's video is going to be primarily on Q&A. Granted, I had 2 questions that I noticed. There's probably more questions out there or new comments from the last video. But this is what I saw this morning, and I did not get the chance to check before doing this because it's already almost 8 o'clock. I should be trying to wind down and go to bed, but I need to do this just for politeness towards Margaret, who asked these 2 questions. The first question is my books. Where did I get them? Well, I'll be honest with you, Margaret. I'm going to say the larger percentage came from Amazon.com. But if you live close to a Barnes & Noble or some other bookstore, you might be able to find a variety of Norse mythology or Viking mythology books. The best one that I've looked at, even though I have not gotten a chance to read it from cover to cover, is this one, and I'm going to pull it out, that I actually got as a gift from a viewer. And this is the author, and this is the title of the book. And if you look for that with Norse mythology and this gentleman's name, you will find a very good book. And he talks a lot about the mythology and the different characters and the various points of view, not only from his point of view, but from his educated point of view, from archaeologists and various people who came before him that studied Norse mythology or the Norse people. There are plenty of other books, but I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of the other books that I've read that say Norse or say Viking mythology, they're not totally. They're focusing more on Vikings, which weren't an actual people. Viking is a term used by the Norsemen to describe an education. Now, if you translate the word Viking into modern day times, or as close as we can, because Old Norse is considered a dead language except for in places like Iceland or amongst various scholars and people who study the Norsemen. You will find that when you read Viking and it says Viking mythology, I would try to steer you towards books that said Norse mythology. Now, if the book just says Vikings, they're talking about particular types of people and their jobs, not the actual people that they represent, which were the Norsemen. And the Norsemen did not come from just Norway. They came from Norway, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, and then they discovered and colonized or settled in Iceland. And in Iceland, they still use some of the old Norse or Nordic language as part of their dialogue. I might have to get myself a drink. I forgot to bring one in here with me, so forgive me for coughing. Now, the other books that I have that I would suggest you reading, only because I read them and considered them very important to anybody who wants to learn more about the Nordic people, is, in fact, let me grab it from over here. Now, if you're wanting to learn, oops, I got more one over here. Grab them. Sorry. If you want to learn about their stories and whatnot, this first book I'm going to show you is the Old Norse. It's called The Study of the Havanal. Now, a lot of people would go, "What is the Havanal?" Now, granted, I have not read all the way through it, but it is. I'm not even going to say their Bible, because that would be the wrong way of saying it. I know I said that in the past, but I've corrected myself ever since. The Havanal. I might not be able to do this because my battery is really low. The Havanal. The Havanal is basically words or wisdom passed down from what they believe was Odin. So in a way, you can kind of say it's their book of knowledge. I would not call it their Bible. But this is one interesting book to get closer to understanding how the Nordic people lived and what they went by as their code of laws. The next book is, if you get your hand on any of the Eddas or the Post Eddas or sagas, that will give you a little bit more insight on some of their history. The other one, and I'm going to cut this short. I'm going to make this quickly because I just got a warning that I've got 20% battery. The other one that I would suggest reading if you wanted to know how they lived, what their clothes were like, what their foods were like, what their living conditions, their homes were like, even their weapons and boats and everything they had to do with, and they call it the Viking Handbook. Well, I would change the word Viking to Norse Handbook, because it talks about their homes, their customs, the foods, their utensils, their everything you need to know to live, eat, fight, and be like a Norseman. This little book would have it in there for you. Granted, again, I've only gotten about halfway through this book because I get scatterbrained and start reading whatever looks interesting, and I have to try to keep myself focused on reading those books. The next subject, or the next question that Margaret had was Germany. She told me about her brother is currently stationed in Frankfurt, Germany, which is about a 2 hour drive from where we were in Germany at the time. Um, and he told her that the people are great, the food is great, the everything out there he loves. I don't know of anybody who's ever gone to Germany and experienced Germany for more than just a simple, quick vacation. I mean, anybody who's in the military who's been stationed in Germany had to be there for at least a minimum of 3 years that I know about. And everybody I know that's been over there, even some of the people I know who took vacations over there, loved it because the people were friendly, the food was great, the atmosphere was awesome, the beauty and majestic mountains and the castles and everything you can even envision, let alone see on various documentaries of modern day Germany. I think National Geographic did a nice little documentary of Germany in its current state and showed the different castles and spoke about Bavaria, which is the Black Forest of Germany, not just the Black Forest of Switzerland, but of Germany, which goes from Germany to Switzerland. Um, Everybody loved it. I have plenty of stories that I can tell you about Germany, but because I want to cut this short due to my phone's battery life, I'm just going to tell you that I agree with her brother. It's a beautiful place. It's a great place to be. People are friendly. Food is awesome. The scenery is great. The environment is great. All the different things that you can do. In fact, Margaret, ask your brothers. Ask your brother if he's ever gone to Munich, Germany for Oktoberfest. That's party central during Oktoberfest. It's the biggest city of Germany that has one of the biggest Oktoberfests. And I've never been, but I've heard stories, and I know a little bit about Oktoberfest just from what I was able to experience as a kid in my area that we lived in. I would have loved if I could have gone there as an adult, like in my 20s, like my cousin did. He backpacked through Europe, and he hit Munich just in time for Oktoberfest, and he gave us an earful of basically what I was told by my cousin who was there is you go to Oktoberfest. In one hand you'll have a sausage, in the other hand you'll have a piece of bread or a loaf of bread, and they'll teach you how to tuck. No, I got that wrong. I got that backwards. Let me correct myself. Sorry. One hand you'll have like a wine glass, the other hand you'll have a beer stein. In the crook of your elbow you have like a wurst or a chunk of food, sausage, and the other one you would have. And the best people there for the Germans who can do it really good can literally have loaf bread, sausage, beer, wine, and just go to town, and like it would be something to watch. I've only heard stories. I've never seen it happen. But one thing my cousin told me is do not walk around with a half empty glass of whatever, because you might have started that beer stein as a big old stein worth of one of the local German beer brews, and they've got several different brews. And if they notice that that stein looks like it's half empty, they'll pour whatever they're carrying in there. So you can, by the end of the night, you can have a beer stein that's got a little bit of beer, a little bit of hard liquor, a little bit of wine. You know, it literally becomes a mixed drink. And if you can handle that mixed drink, you're German. You're one of them. But if you can't handle it, you're just you're just a visitor. You're just here on vacation, trying to prove your worth during Oktoberfest in Germany. And I would love to try to experience that. My father, when we were living in Germany, got invited to a next door neighbor's house by our landlord the first year we were there to enjoy the festivities of a wedding. The young couple got married and they were having the wedding feast basically at the parents' house. Now, one of the things I like about Germany, especially the town that I lived in, is if you're a young couple who just gets married, the parents from both sides, plus most of the village, gets together to literally build from the ground up a house within like a day or two. Like they'll lay down the ground floor or the walls for the basement if there's going to be a basement, which most of the German houses did, because that's where that was their cellar and their food storage and things of that nature. But they would lay down the ground floor in one day, and the next day the whole village would come together and just start building the house. And there's always somebody who directs the project, but it's just like literally the whole village comes together to build them a brand new house that's big enough to start a small family. And that was one of the things that I did love about Germany, is the fact that the villages, especially the small villages, Altley is the name of the village that we lived in, they knew each other. We moved into Altley, and within maybe a 2-week time period, practically the whole town of Altley knew who we were, knew who we lived with, who our landlords were, how we got to the house, all the different things that, hey, new neighbors, new people, what are they like? Let's talk to the landlord or whomever. And I mean, I remember we moved into the house in Altley at like right in the middle of wintertime. The first winter we were there, and I mean, first time I actually seen snow. It was fun because it was like, oh wow, this is what real snow is like. Not that 2-inch powdering that you'll be lucky to make one snowball out of, and not even a real snowball, like this loose powder ball. But it was an experience and a half, and I will, tomorrow maybe, when my phone is fully charged, I will talk more about it. In fact, Margaret, if you remind me, just send me a little nudge through the messenger system. I will talk about some of my experiences as a kid in Germany. I mean, I loved it. My parents loved it so much when we were there that my father wanted to retire in Germany because he was offered 2 different jobs in Germany, to work as a American liaison between the trying to get businesses started in America and communicating with the German company, the one German company I remember, to sell their product over there. And I can't remember what the other one was, but the other one was based in, I think he was asked to work in Altley, like one of the jobs or something like that in Altley. I can't remember what it was, but I mean, when I was told about this information, I was like, why did we come back to the States? Why don't we just take it? I could have gotten a better education, and who knows where I could have gone. Well, the reason why we didn't do that is because the U.S. military wants their GIs to retire on American soil in the U.S., not on American soil overseas in a foreign base. And I think what it was is the first job he was offered was to work with the Burgermeister or the mayor of Altley and some of the surrounding communities to help get GIs to live off base, or if the GIs were looking for a place to live off base because they didn't want to live in a motel, basically, until a place on base was opened up. He was basically going to help situate the GIs off base, which I think he would have done great with, because, I mean, he had a great personality. We already were friends with the mayor of Altley. We were friends with, and he was getting Dad connected with some of the smaller towns around the base, like Zorn was one of them, because that was like right off base. That was like, you leave the main gate and boom, you're in Zorn. You travel 15-20 miles down the Autobahn, you're in Altley. So depending on how far you want to travel, depending on where you could live off base, um, that would have been a perfect job for him until they decommissioned the Air Force Base and turned it into a municipal airport for the area. But I'm pretty sure the Burgermeister would have found him a job easily that he could have done, whether it was, you know, still working with the Americans who were traveling through the area or what. But either that or we would have moved closer to Frankfurt or Stuttgart, because those bases are still in operation, and we would have been doing basically the same thing in that surrounding area. But those bases were bigger and they had more housing complexes and whatnot for the GIs. But Dad would have been a perfect person to, get the GIs situated and show them the ropes. And hey, you wanna see some of the best places to eat in town? Let's, I'll take you out to this place or that place, blah blah blah. Or hey, you want to go see some of the sights? Have an American tour guide. Just give me a ring on the weekends, and I'll take you sightseeing. And who knows? But that was over 20 years ago, and things have changed. So, but anyhow, I'm like I said, I'm gonna cut this out right now because of my battery level, and if anybody wants to hear more about my stories of Germany, I would be more than happy to tell them. I'm pretty sure Margaret could get, information from her brother. Granted, he's in a different area than I am, but he might know some of the things I'm talking about, like Munich, Oktoberfest, some of the castles I've seen, like the ones I remember their names of: Koken Castle, Burgelt, Koblenz. Yeah, Koblenz, I think is. Koblenz is a town. I don't remember the name of the castle without looking at one of my wine glasses. I think one of them has it on there, but I think it says Koblenz on there. But, I didn't get to go, but when my parents were there, sorry, I'm still talking. When my parents were there, they were trying to sell Avon, and they had to go to this big convention or this big seminar of some sort to sell. No, it wasn't Avon. Tupperware. I do believe it was Tupperware. I don't think my parents ever did Avon, but they did something there. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But they had to go to Hamburg, Germany. Unfortunately, I stayed in LA on base with a friend, basically. Somebody who can watch over me while they were gone. Because I was a real troublemaker back then. I mean, I got into a lot of different things that were troublesome. In fact, Margaret, ask your brother about Frickin' Frack. If they still do cartoons with Frickin' Frack over there in Germany, yeah, they were a pair of mischief makers who got into all kinds of trouble and whatnot. A lot of people go, Frickin' Frack, isn't that like some weird... No. Frickin' Frack were a pair of characters in the German culture that were pair of twins who caused all kinds of trouble throughout their village and whatnot, and got themselves in trouble. And they used the cartoon Frickin' Frack to help teach the kids right and wrong, and what not to do, and things of that nature. But yeah, I remember those characters from Germany, Frickin' Frack. But yeah, I'm gonna end this now because I just got another warning. So I'm gonna just sign off. You guys know what to do down here. I hope to hear more from more questions that I can hopefully answer, especially if there are questions about Germany, the Norsemen, Yellowstone National Park, maybe various want to hear various places I've been that I can remember. Some of them I can remember in detail, some of them I can't. I mean, I can remember back to mid-70s from the latter half of our time in Tucson, Arizona, a little bit from Little Rock, a good bit from Germany, and then from the time my dad retired from the Air Force in Arizona to the time to today, basically. So if you got questions, I'm more than willing to answer them, especially if they're not going to be problem children. So basically, the things I will not talk about anymore in detail unless I feel that it's necessary is what's going on with my wife's health. I can tell you right now that she's in good spirits and good health. Mom's in good health. Other than saying something like that, I'm not gonna be talking about everybody's health, because it just takes away from the positive parts of my channel. So until tomorrow or next time, see you guys later. Bye.